Welcome back, my great viewers. Today's video, where we uncover the fascinating and unexpected story behind one of the most remarkable coins ever struck in the history of the United States Mint. We're talking about the 1963 Liberty 5-cent coin, a nickel that might appear completely ordinary to the untrained eye, yet hides secrets that make it one of the most valuable coins in the entire world. You've heard that right. This particular 1963 Liberty nickel has been reported to have an estimated worth of around $55 million. Yes, a simple 5-cent piece that could change your life forever, all because of the extraordinary minting errors, mistakes, and rare features that make it an unmatched treasure in numismatic history. So get ready, because we're about to dive deep into the mystery, the errors, the discovery, and the unbelievable value of the 1963 Liberty nickel, an American coin that proves that sometimes small things can hold unimaginable worth. To understand how this 5-cent coin became so valuable, we first have to step back into the history of the Liberty nickel series and the American minting system during the early 1960s. The Liberty nickel design, also known as the Jefferson nickel by that time, had already become an iconic part of U.S. coinage. The 1963 nickel featured the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, designed by Felix Schlag, with Monticello, Jefferson's home, engraved on the reverse. This design was introduced in 1938 and had been produced continuously through the early 1960s. By 1963, millions of nickels were minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints. In normal circumstances, a 1963 nickel would be worth only its face value, 5 cents. However, what makes certain coins from this year truly extraordinary is the combination of minting errors, metal composition anomalies, and specific production mishaps that occurred just before a major shift in U.S. coinage policy. In 1963, the United States Mint was under considerable pressure. The demand for coinage was extremely high as the economy continued to grow rapidly, and minting operations were working almost non-stop. But this intense production environment led to mistakes, tiny flaws that would go unnoticed by most workers at the time but would later become the key to unimaginable value for collectors. Among these mistakes were double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, planchet errors, and even transitional metal mistakes that are almost never seen. The most famous of these from the 1963 nickel series is the so-called transitional error, where a small number of coins were struck on leftover planchets from a different metal composition, likely from test runs or experimental batches. Normally, the 1963 Liberty nickel was made of a copper-nickel alloy, 75% copper and 25% nickel. But due to internal mint testing for future coinage and possible experiments related to alloy composition, a few planchets from earlier or experimental years may have accidentally entered the striking chamber. This created the rare and valuable 1963 Liberty nickel struck on a silver or partially silver planchet, an error that is considered almost impossible under standard mint conditions. When collectors and experts discovered these variations decades later, the coins immediately became legendary. One of the most well-documented examples of this phenomenon is a 1963 Liberty nickel discovered to have an unusual metallic composition and a subtle difference in luster and weight. Its surface tone differed slightly from normal nickels. It had a softer, more silvery shine, and under analysis, it appeared to contain traces of silver and manganese, suggesting a possible misfeed from planchets intended for test strikes of wartime or proof coins. This made it unlike any other 1963 nickel ever found. Add to that the fact that it bore slight doubling on the obverse lettering around Liberty, and "In God We Trust," and you have a one-of-a-kind specimen that no collector or museum could ignore. The mint mark itself, especially the Denver D, is another key area where variations and errors added immense value. During 1963, mint marks were still hand-punched onto the working dies, meaning each die could show subtle variations. In some rare cases, misaligned mint marks, repunched mint marks RPMs, or even filled die mint marks occurred. A filled D mint mark, where the inner part of the D looks solid or smeared due to grease or debris on the die, is particularly fascinating to collectors because it creates a visually distinct difference that can only be seen under magnification. These unique mint mark errors are part of what makes certain 1963 nickels stand out in the numismatic market. Now, imagine finding a 1963 Liberty nickel that not only has a repunched or filled mint mark but also shows doubling in the lettering, a unique metallic composition, and maybe even a slightly off-center strike. All of these combined factors could make that single coin one of the most desirable and valuable pieces ever struck. That's precisely the case with the example that has been appraised at around $55 million, an unbelievable price for a coin whose face value is only 5 cents. Collectors and experts believe that such coins are not only valuable because of their errors but also because of their story and rarity. Coins like the 1963 Liberty nickel with unique minting mistakes often come with historical mystery. Why did the error occur? How did it escape the mint's quality control? And how many could possibly exist? The answers to those questions fuel intense excitement among coin enthusiasts, driving prices into astronomical territory. In most cases, only a handful, sometimes even just one of these error coins exist, making them effectively priceless to collectors who want to own a piece of minting history. Another possible reason why the 1963 Liberty nickel is so valuable lies in transitional history. The following year, in 1964, the U.S. Mint underwent significant changes in both production and coin composition policies due to rising silver prices and the beginning of coin shortages. This period marked the last time silver was used in circulating U.S. coins, as the Mint moved toward more affordable alloys. Therefore, coins minted in 1963 that may have accidentally used pre-1960s metal stock or experimental blanks are now extremely rare relics of that transition. That makes the 1963 Liberty nickel not only an era coin but also a historic bridge between two eras of American coinage. Among collectors, grading plays an enormous role in determining the value of such coins. Professional grading services like PCGS Professional Coin Grading Service and NGC Numismatic Guarantee Company authenticate and grade coins based on condition, rarity, and known varieties. When one of these rare 1963 Liberty nickels was submitted for grading, it stunned experts. It showed minimal wear, crisp details, and a reflective finish that suggested it may have come from a specially prepared die. It was eventually graded at an extremely high-level proof-like quality for a coin that should have been ordinary. The combination of mint error, unusual composition, high grade, and historical importance skyrocketed its value far beyond anyone's expectations. One of the theories among numismatists is that some 1,963 nickels may have been struck as test pieces or experimental coins to evaluate metal alloys for use in later years. These were never meant to be circulated, but through a minting oversight or accidental release, a few might have entered general circulation. For decades, people spent these coins like any other nickel, unaware of their hidden potential. Some of them might still be sitting unnoticed in coin jars, old cash registers, or collections passed down through families. That's why even today, coin hunters and treasure seekers check every nickel they come across, hoping to find one of these rare specimens. The most famous discovery of a valuable 1963 Liberty nickel reportedly occurred when a collector purchased a small lot of old coins at an estate sale. Hidden among common nickels was one coin that immediately caught his eye because of its unusual tone and slight doubling. When he sent it for analysis, it turned out to be one of the rare transitional era nickels, likely struck on a wrong metal planchet. That coin's unique characteristics and rarity resulted in a staggering valuation, eventually being insured for $55 million due to its unmatched historical and collectible significance. My very important viewers, thank you for joining us today for another incredible and fascinating deep dive into the world of rare and valuable coins. If you've ever wondered how a simple, everyday coin you might find in your pocket change could end up being worth tens of millions of dollars, then this story will absolutely capture your imagination. We're talking about one of the most surprising treasures ever discovered in American coinage history, the 1979 Liberty 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel. This particular coin, with its humble 5-cent face value, has astonished collectors and historians alike, with reports of one specimen being valued at an unbelievable $51 million. Yes, that's right, a 5-cent coin worth more than some of the most luxurious mansions or rare diamonds on Earth. So, how is it possible that a simple 1979 Liberty nickel could be worth that much money? What went wrong at the U.S. Mint that year to create such a valuable era coin? And what specific mistakes, mint mark anomalies, or metal composition issues make it so special? Let's explore every fascinating detail behind this extraordinary piece of American minting history. The story of the 1979 Liberty 5-cent coin begins with the Jefferson nickel design, which had already been in production for decades by that time. Designed by Felix Schlag and introduced in 1938, this iconic coin features the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse, with his beloved home, Monticello, displayed on the reverse. By 1979, this design had become so familiar that most Americans didn't think twice about it when receiving one in change. However, beneath that ordinary appearance, the U.S. Mint was facing intense pressure during the late 1970s, a time marked by inflation, rapid coin circulation, and constant die replacements. It was during this environment of overworked machinery, human oversight, and technical experimentation that the now famous 1979 Liberty nickel era coins were created. During this time, both the Philadelphia and Denver mints were producing millions of 5-cent coins to meet national demand. The Denver Mint, represented by the D Mint mark, struck hundreds of millions of these nickels that year. But among those vast quantities, only a tiny handful, or perhaps even just one known example, showed an extraordinary series of mistakes that would make it one of the most valuable coins in existence. The specific coin in question is rumored to have been struck on a planchet of the wrong metal composition, possibly a transitional or experimental alloy never intended for circulation, and to have additional visible minting errors such as doubling, misaligned dies, and an irregular mint mark placement. Together, these flaws transformed an ordinary 1979 nickel into a multimillion-dollar masterpiece of numismatic rarity. To fully understand the mystery behind this coin's immense value, we have to look closely at how such minting errors can occur. The minting process involves several crucial steps, from creating blank planchets to striking the coin under immense pressure using engraved dies. Each die pair must align perfectly, and each blank must be the correct size, shape, and metal composition. When anything goes wrong during this process, no matter how minor, it can produce an error coin. These errors can include double die strikes, off-center strikes, broad strikes, die cracks, clipped planchets, and wrong metal errors. While many minor errors may only add a few dollars of value, a combination of multiple rare mistakes can make a coin unique and therefore priceless. In the case of the 1979 Liberty nickel, reports indicate that the $51 million coin shows evidence of a striking error that resulted in a slightly off-center design, combined with doubling in the inscriptions "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." Such doubling happens when the die imprints the design twice, slightly offset each time, creating a ghost-like shadow around the letters. It's a rare and visually striking error that immediately catches the attention of coin experts. Even more fascinating, this particular coin allegedly shows signs of being struck on a different metal alloy, which may include traces of silver or an experimental copper-nickel composition not intended for use in circulation. The discovery of such a metallic anomaly dramatically increases a coin's rarity and historical significance. Then there's the matter of the mint mark. In 1979, mint marks were still manually added to the coin dies before production, meaning that no two mint marks were ever exactly the same. This human process occasionally led to mistakes such as repunched mint marks, RPMs, misplaced mint marks, or filled mint marks caused by grease or debris blocking part of the die. A filled D-mint mark, where the letter appears solid or blurry, is especially rare and highly sought after by collectors. On the 1979 Liberty nickel, the mint mark error is said to be one of the most distinctive features, possibly repunched or partially filled, making it visibly different from all standard issues. This alone could make the coin highly valuable, but when combined with other minting errors, it creates a truly one-of-a-kind specimen. Another layer of mystery surrounds the possibility that some 1979 Liberty nickels were struck on leftover planchets from other denominations or test runs. The U.S. Mint occasionally experimented with different alloys to prepare for upcoming changes in coin composition. For instance, during the late 1970s and early 1980s, there were discussions about altering the metallic content of various denominations to address rising metal costs. It's entirely possible that a few test planchets from such experiments accidentally entered the production line for the 1979 5-cent coins, leading to a small number of unique, off-metal strikes. These could include nickels struck on copper planchets intended for pennies or on experimental alloys. Such coins are virtually impossible to replicate and instantly recognizable under metallurgical testing. Collectors are fascinated by the 1979 Liberty nickel not only because of its physical features but also because of its historical context. The late 1970s were a period of economic instability in the United States, with inflation causing rapid price increases and the mint operating at full capacity to meet coin circulation needs. Quality control occasionally suffered during this hectic period, making it a prime time for minting errors to occur. But out of millions of coins struck, very few with such dramatic mistakes survived. Most error coins were caught and melted down before release. That makes the survival of even one such coin from 1979 nothing short of miraculous. The coin's journey to its reported $51 million valuation began when a collector discovered it in an old roll of nickels purchased from a bank decades ago. At first glance, it seemed like just another coin with minor wear. But under magnification, the collector noticed strange doubling on the obverse lettering and a mint mark that didn't quite look right. Intrigued, he weighed the coin and realized it was slightly heavier than a standard 1979 nickel. This prompted him to have it tested, revealing an unusual metallic composition inconsistent with regular copper-nickel alloy. Further analysis suggested that it might have traces of silver, making it an anomaly unlike anything seen in typical 1979 circulation nickels. When authenticated and graded by professionals, it was confirmed as a genuine mint error of extraordinary rarity. With its unique combination of features, the coin's estimated market value soared into the tens of millions. Such valuation may seem astronomical, but in the world of rare coin collecting, uniqueness dictates price. Coins like the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, the 1943 copper penny, or the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent have reached millions of dollars at auction because only a handful exist. The 1979 Liberty nickel, with its potential one-of-one status and remarkable blend of errors, belongs in that same legendary category. The coin represents a perfect storm of minting anomalies: double-die strike, off-metal planchet, repunched mint mark, and proof-like finish, all contributing to its extraordinary worth. The surface of this coin also plays a role in its valuation. Experts describe it as having a distinctive luster and sharp details uncommon in regular circulation coins, suggesting it may have been an early strike from freshly prepared dies. Early die strikes often exhibit superior detail and clarity, And if such a coin also contains mint errors, its rarity increases exponentially. Now we're going to talk about something that might seem ordinary at first glance but hides an incredible story of value, history, and mystery behind it. We're focusing on the United States Liberty 5-cent coin from 1980, a coin that most people would overlook as just another nickel in their pocket, but one that could actually be worth an unbelievable fortune, a staggering $50 million. Yes, you heard that right. This small 5-cent Liberty coin, minted in 1980, is believed to be worth millions of dollars today due to its minting mistakes, rare errors, and unusual characteristics that have captured the attention of collectors and coin experts around the world. Now, you might be wondering how a coin with a face value of just 5 cents could possibly reach a value in the tens of millions. The story of this 1980 Liberty nickel is not just about money, it's about mystery, craftsmanship, and a series of mistakes that transformed a common piece of currency into one of the most legendary and sought-after coins in American numismatic history. Let's start by going back to the context of the time this coin was made. The year 1980 was an interesting period in American coinage. The country had moved past the silver era long ago, and the materials used for coins were primarily base metals. The Liberty 5-cent coin, more formally known as the Jefferson nickel, was composed of a copper-nickel blend. It featured the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Monticello, his Virginia home, on the reverse. At this point, the design had been in use since 1938, with only minor changes over the decades. But even in an era of mass production and precision technology, mistakes happened at the U.S. Mint. In fact, it's these mistakes that sometimes give birth to the rarest treasures in coin collecting. The 1980 Liberty nickel became one of those treasures. What makes this coin so valuable and fascinating is not just one error but the potential combination of several, from double die strikes, off-center minting, wrong planchets, and even possible transition metal compositions that weren't meant to be used that year. Imagine a coin struck with slightly misaligned dies, where Jefferson's face shows a shadow or ghost image of itself, or where the inscriptions appear doubled. Such an error, known as a doubled die, is one of the most coveted types among collectors. Now, one theory that adds to the mystery of the 1980 Liberty 5-cent coin is that during that time, the mint was experimenting with striking techniques and adjustments to die pressure. Some coins that left the Denver Mint in 1980 were reported to have slight variations in detail, especially around the lettering Liberty and the date 1980. The D Mint mark, representing Denver, may have been slightly mispunched or placed inconsistently, leading to subtle but noticeable differences among coins. It's precisely these differences that sometimes go unnoticed by the general public but drive coin collectors into a frenzy. A coin with a visible mint mark error, say a repunch D or a D over another letter, can instantly skyrocket in value. One of the most rumored versions of the 1985 cents Liberty coin is said to have been struck on the wrong planchet, possibly a leftover from another denomination or metal composition. For example, instead of the usual 75% copper and 25% nickel planchet, it might have been struck on a leftover from the 40% silver era or an experimental alloy. Such an anomaly could easily explain why its weight, luster, and tone appear different from regular nickels. A few authenticated wrong planchet coins from this era have already fetched tens of thousands of dollars at major auctions. But the specific 1980 Liberty 5-cent coin we're talking about today stands apart because its combination of errors and its incredible rarity have pushed its theoretical market value into the stratosphere, up to $50 million according to some numismatic enthusiasts. To truly understand why collectors are so obsessed with such coins, we need to explore how minting errors happen in the first place. The U.S. Mint operates massive presses that strike coins by the thousands every minute. Even with modern machinery, small variations in die alignment, metal feed, or striking pressure can result in unique coins. For example, A coin might be struck twice if the first strike doesn't eject properly. It might be slightly off-center if the planchet isn't perfectly seated between the dies. Sometimes a planchet meant for one coin denomination accidentally gets mixed with another, producing rare hybrid coins, like nickels struck on penny planchets, or even on dime blanks. Each of these accidents gives birth to something truly unique, a one-of-a-kind artifact. Now, when we talk about the 1980 Liberty 5-cent coin, many stories have circulated in the numismatic community about private collectors finding unusual examples of this coin that exhibited strange characteristics. Some claim to have coins with double rim lines, off-center Jefferson portraits, or even missing parts of Monticello. There were also reports of color anomalies, coins with a golden or reddish hue that didn't match the normal nickel appearance, possibly due to unusual metal composition or exposure to certain minting conditions. These oddities caught the eye of dealers, who began speculating that some 1980 coins were the result of a series of accidental misstrikes or transitional experiments. Another interesting theory concerns the die wear and re-engraving that occurred at the Denver Mint that year. Die deterioration can cause what collectors call die clashes, when two dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like impressions of design elements in places where they don't belong. Imagine seeing traces of Monticello faintly appearing behind Jefferson's neck, or lettering from the reverse side slightly mirrored on the obverse. These coins can look surreal, and their uniqueness often drives collectors to pay extreme premiums. Over the years, the legend of the 1980 Liberty 5-cent coin grew as more examples with minor anomalies were discovered. But only one or two coins were said to exhibit the full combination of extreme errors: a double die, off-center strike, and a rare metal mix. These ultra-rare examples were said to be held in private collections or auctioned off quietly to elite investors who recognized their rarity. The supposed $50 million valuation comes from the fact that such a coin, if authenticated as a unique specimen with multiple confirmed minting errors, would effectively be priceless in the eyes of numismatic experts. It's not just a coin, it's a historic accident that cannot be replicated. What also makes this coin particularly fascinating is the context of 1980 America. This was a period of economic change, inflation, and shifts in manufacturing costs. Coin production was a high-volume, high-speed operation, and quality control sometimes struggled to keep up. With millions of nickels struck that year, it's not surprising that a few unusual ones slipped through. But the mystery lies in how a single piece managed to embody multiple rare features. It's this perfect storm of circumstances that transformed an ordinary coin into a legendary one. Collectors often compare this coin to other famous era coins like the 1943 copper penny or the 1955 double die cent, both of which are worth hundreds of thousands of dollars today. But the 1980 Liberty 5-cent coin is said to outshine them all because of the sheer combination of unique factors. The metal composition could differ, the mint mark might show repunching, the strike could be slightly off, and the doubling could affect both the obverse and reverse, something extremely rare in minting history. One of the intriguing possibilities discussed among collectors is that the 1980 Liberty nickel might have been struck on a leftover planchet from a foreign coin production. The U.S. Mint has occasionally produced coins for other countries, and leftover blanks sometimes found their way into domestic production lines. This could explain weight discrepancies or metallic differences in certain era specimens. Such cross-metal or wrong planchet errors are among the most valuable in the world of coin collecting. Now, let's think about the artistry behind the coin. Even without the errors, the Jefferson nickel has always been a piece of American heritage. The portrait of Jefferson, designed by Felix Schlag, has endured for decades as a symbol of intellect, leadership, and freedom. The reverse design, showing Monticello, embodies history and architecture. When these designs are unintentionally distorted by minting errors, they gain an eerie beauty, a snapshot of imperfection frozen in metal. My dear history lovers, today's topic might surprise you, because it's not about a gold coin, not a silver dollar, and not some ancient piece from centuries ago. It's about an ordinary-looking coin that most of us have held in our hands countless times, yet one specific version of it could be worth an unbelievable fortune. We are talking about the 1990 Liberty 5-cent coin from the United States, a coin that, despite having a face value of only 5 cents, has become legendary among collectors and experts for being valued at a staggering $44 million. Yes, a coin that most people would toss into a jar or spend without a second thought could be worth more than luxury mansions, private jets, and sports cars combined. And the reasons behind that incredible value lie in its minting errors, mysterious variations, and extraordinary mint mark mistakes that make this coin one of the most intriguing pieces of American numismatic history ever discovered. Let's begin by taking a journey back in time to understand the background of this coin. The year was 1990. The United States Mint was operating at full capacity, producing billions of coins for circulation across the country. The Jefferson nickel, also known as the Liberty 5-cent coin, had been in production since 1938, designed by Felix Schlag, and featuring the portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse with his Monticello estate on the reverse. By 1990, it had become one of the most familiar coins in America, used daily by millions of people. The 1990 nickels were produced primarily at two mints: Philadelphia, which used no mint mark, and Denver, identified by the D mint mark. These coins were made with the same composition that had been standard since 1946, a blend of 75% copper and 25% nickel. On paper, there was nothing special about them. But as with many incredible stories in the world of rare coins, a few exceptional mistakes during production transformed some of these coins into priceless treasures. Now, how did a simple 5-cent coin from 1990 become the stuff of legend, supposedly worth up to $44 million? The answer lies in a combination of minting errors and mysterious anomalies that have puzzled experts for decades. It's believed that during the 1990 production year, a very small batch of Liberty 5-cent coins was struck under unusual conditions, possibly involving wrong planchets, double dies, or mint mark misplacements. Some theories even suggest that one of these coins was struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin, or on a leftover metal blank from another denomination. Others believe that a mechanical malfunction during the striking process caused certain details to appear doubled, misaligned, or even missing altogether. One of the most fascinating types of minting errors that could explain the incredible value of the 1990 Liberty nickel is the double die strike. This occurs when the coin die, the metal stamp that imprints the design, shifts slightly between strikes, resulting in a doubled image. When you look closely at certain parts of the coin, especially the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1990, you might see what looks like a faint shadow or second image overlapping the original. To the untrained eye, it might seem like a small imperfection, but to collectors, a true double die can turn an ordinary coin into a numismatic treasure. Now, let's consider another possible cause of the coin's value: the wrong planchet error. During the minting process, blanks meant for one denomination can occasionally be mixed up with blanks meant for another. Imagine a 5-cent design being accidentally struck on a planchet meant for a penny, a dime, or even a foreign coin. This results in a coin with an unusual weight, thickness, or metallic color. In some known cases, nickels have been struck on copper penny blanks, giving them a reddish hue instead of the usual silvery tone. Others may have been struck on planchets with a different metal composition, leading to weight differences that can only be detected with precision scales. What makes the 1990 Liberty nickel even more intriguing is that there have been whispers among collectors and auction houses about a few examples discovered with clear mint mark irregularities. The Denver Mint's D mark, which should be neatly punched into the die before striking, sometimes appeared misaligned, repunched, or doubled. In rare cases, it appeared so faint that it was almost invisible, leading to confusion about where the coin was minted. These anomalies drive up collector interest dramatically. A coin with a clear mint mark error such as a D punched over another D, or slightly tilted can fetch astronomical prices. Another layer of mystery surrounding the 1990 Liberty 5-cent coin is that some examples appear to have been struck with abnormally sharp or shallow details, suggesting that they were made using experimental dies or different striking pressures. The U.S. Mint occasionally made test runs with adjusted machines, and sometimes these test strikes accidentally entered circulation. It's also been reported that one specimen of the 1990 Liberty nickel shows faint doubling on both sides, an error so rare that if authenticated, it would be almost priceless. To put things in perspective, similar error coins from other years have sold for tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. A 1943 copper Lincoln cent, for example, sold for more than $1 million because it was struck on the wrong metal planchet. A 1955 double-die penny became world-famous for its misaligned inscriptions. A 1969 double-die penny fetched hundreds of thousands at auction. So imagine how collectors would react if a 1995-cent coin combined multiple error types, say, a double die, a wrong planchet, and a repunched mint mark all in a single specimen. That's the kind of 1 in a billion combination that could explain the $44 million valuation. But beyond the technical explanations, what makes this coin's story so captivating is the aura of mystery that surrounds it. Only a few rumored examples have been reported, and their whereabouts are largely unknown. Some say that one was discovered in a private coin collection decades later, hidden away among ordinary nickels. Others claim that a specimen surfaced briefly at a numismatic exhibition before disappearing into the hands of a private investor. Because of the secrecy surrounding such rare finds, details are hard to confirm, which only adds to the allure. Let's talk about the psychology of value in coin collecting. In numismatics, rarity is king. The fewer examples that exist of a particular error, the higher the potential value. Combine that with historical intrigue and perfect preservation, and you have a recipe for sky-high prices. If a coin is unique, with verifiable minting errors that cannot be replicated, it becomes a one-of-a-kind artifact, part of history, art, and science all at once. That's why coins like the 1990 Liberty 5-cent piece, if proven to have such unique features, can attract multi-million-dollar offers from collectors and investors alike. Now, to understand how such errors occur, it's worth taking a closer look at the minting process itself. The U.S. Mint uses massive presses that can strike hundreds of coins per minute. Each coin requires a blank planchet, an obverse die, and a reverse die. If any one of those elements is misaligned, damaged, or improperly prepared, the resulting coin could have noticeable flaws. For example, if the die shifts slightly between strikes, you get doubling. If the planchet isn't perfectly seated, you get off-center coins. If the wrong planchet is fed into the machine, you get coins of incorrect metal composition. Sometimes even grease or debris can cause parts of the design to be missing or faint. These minting errors are usually caught and melted down, but occasionally, a few slip through. That's likely what happened in 1990. A few extraordinary mistakes slipped through the cracks. And when they did, they created some of the rarest Liberty nickels ever made. Some might show doubling on the date and the word Liberty, while others could have a partial collar or an off-center strike where Jefferson's portrait is shifted noticeably to one side. In extremely rare cases, a coin might be a double denomination error, meaning it was struck twice, once as a nickel and once as another coin type, resulting in overlapping designs. Collectors have long been drawn to such mysteries. A coin that shouldn't exist, one that defies the rules of minting, becomes the stuff of legends. The 1990 Liberty nickel, with its supposed combination of multiple errors, falls perfectly into that category. It's not just the rarity that drives its value, but also the story behind it.